All right, we've covered a lot since the top of the show. Our exclusive New Hampshire poll, President Biden not appearing on the New Hampshire primary ballot. We talked to Dean Phillips. Let's go ahead and bring in a few more people to talk. Our guest tonight, Samuel Gebru, professor of the practice of political science at Tufts University, and Jennifer Nassour, former chairperson for the Massachusetts Republican Party and president and founder of the Pocketbook Project.
Welcome to both of you. All right, Jennifer, let's start with you. What's your take on what's happening with this write-in campaign for the Democrats in New Hampshire?
I mean, it's so silly. Unfortunately, one, I think it's a failure of the Biden campaign to just not say what you said. You know, this is a 2028 issue. This isn't a 2024 issue. This is important to us. We want to fix this. We want it to be South Carolina first. Okay, New Hampshire, we're giving you what you want now, but we now then have 4 years to negotiate.
But isn't he kind of splitting the baby here? Because now Biden gets to say to South Carolina, look, I'm giving you what you want. And New Hampshire, you know, you haven't been that great to me anyway, and it doesn't really matter if I win or lose in New Hampshire. So he kind of gets it both ways, no?
He does, but you're dissing a whole bunch of voters, right? And I mean, we're an entire United States of America. It's not the United States of South Carolina, the United States of New Hampshire, the United States of Iowa. I mean, so I think you have to look at it on a holistic basis. If he is running for president of the United States, it is the entire United States. So fix the issue and use your bully pulpit to fix it going forward, and don't be a child about it right now.
Sam, is this just sort of the price that you pay for an endorsement, I guess, because President Biden, DNC, doing this because South Carolina was the saving grace for him? Is this just kind of, now his time to pay the piper?
I mean, South Carolina definitely was the saving grace last time around. Congressman Jim Clyburn, literally the kingmaker. So for sure, you know, President Biden owes that state a lot. And I do agree with you, Jennifer, that, you know, he should not have snubbed New Hampshire in that way. But, you know, this is Biden and the DNC ripping the Band-Aid off, I think. And in the grand scheme of things, I think that what's going to matter the most is a challenge to Donald Trump. And so while New Hampshire voters may be upset with President Biden or the DNC, I think they're really laser focused on challenging Trump.
Do you think the Republicans will follow suit at some point and also go to South Carolina first at some point?
Maybe. I don't know.
Thanks for the segue.
They seem really steadfast with their process right now.
Let's talk about South Carolina. Your initial thoughts to seeing Tim Scott endorse Donald Trump over the woman, former governor, who one might say is the only reason why Tim Scott is in the Senate.
Yeah, I mean, I would like not to say that it's sexism, but it feels a little bit like sexism, number one. It also, you know, makes me wonder. Donald Trump said he was going to drain the swamp, but suddenly it's super important to go and grab people who are in the swamp to endorse him. So what swamp did he actually drain? He didn't drain it while he was there from 2017 to 2020. So, and he sure as heck doesn't look like he's doing it now.
I was just going to ask, all these candidates who were against Trump are now endorsing him. What's your take on that?
I think they're realizing that they have to fall in line. I think a lot of them are running scared. Maybe Tim Scott is vying for a cabinet appointment or something. I do agree. Trump promised to drain the swamp. If anything, he contributed to the swamp in many ways. These court cases being one example of that. But, you know, we've seen people like Liz Cheney that have stood up and challenged Donald Trump, and even her last name could not protect her. So I think a lot of people are scared, and with definite reason to be so.
We've seen the Republican Party over the last few elections make inroads into communities of color. Despite her, what you might consider gaffes on race recently, do you think that Tim Scott aligning himself with Donald Trump, who has made many more significant gaffes on the issue of race as compared to Nikki Haley, is going to do damage to the widening of the GOP tent?
No. So I think that there are numerous problems that the Republican Party has had. Number one, continuously running old white guys for higher office. Nikki Haley is a woman of color, and I think that contributes to the racism aspect, right? And so I think that there's a lot more that the Republican Party can do in broadening the tent, bringing more people in. I don't think that Tim Scott is someone who's out there and he's trying to bolster Black Americans in this country. And I think him joining with Donald Trump, who I think is one of the most racist people who has been in higher office, really, to me, makes me wonder where Tim Scott's priorities are. Are they for his constituency and the greater good of Americans? And so for me, it is, look, leadership is leadership. Leadership is talking to everyone. Leadership is everyone having a seat at the table, finding a conciliatory tone, finding unity. And that's what Nikki Haley will bring, because she is an actual leader who will listen to people. I watch her out there on the campaign trail. She is listening to every question. She is answering every question. And that is what the country needs to heal, because right now we are in a very bad place. And I blame Donald Trump for us being a very disrespectful, nasty country.
If I can just build on that, Tim Scott has no daylight with Donald Trump. I mean, their policy is lockstep. When you look at Tim Scott's voting record in the Senate, he voted in support of Donald Trump's policies the entire time. So there isn't much difference in terms of substance or really cosmetic.
Jennifer, we've been hearing New York Congresswoman Elise Stefanik's name. She's going to be in New Hampshire tomorrow campaigning for Trump. Is it too early to be talking about who his vice presidential pick might be? And will she help him in the age world? Like, she's obviously young, obviously competent, whether you agree with her or not. Will that help him?
Well, talk about someone who sold her soul to the devil. Elise Stefanik was no fan of Donald Trump when Donald Trump was first running for office, and was very open and candid about that. Yet now, when she found it to be politically convenient for her, she suddenly got in line, exactly, not wanting to take the Liz Cheney hatchet. And so I think it is, listen, we have only had one state which has voted so far. New Hampshire would be state number 2. We have a whole country out there. And so I think to pull out a crystal ball and say whatever candidate it's going to be is picking a vice president is a mistake, and actually is unfair to democracy and to all those good people out there who should be getting out to vote.
In terms of that VP pick, I know we still got a lot of voting to do, but do you think the campaign is going to struggle with making a choice of picking somebody in the Mike Pence mode, establishment, well-respected, conservative, or are they going to go, I want somebody very far on the right to even Donald Trump, like a Stefanik, like maybe a Marjorie Taylor Greene?
When it comes to policy issues, Mike Pence was indeed far on the right, in my opinion, although he did not throw rocks in the same way that Donald Trump did. He was a very far-right vice president, and before that, in his previous roles. I think Elise Stefanik presents, for Donald Trump, a pretty good candidate. Look, I'm not sexist. I have, Congresswoman Elise Stefanik. She also just took down the big bad Harvard, and I think that plays really well in her favor.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you guys for being here with us again, and thank you for joining us all week for these live editions of At Issue. We really do appreciate it.